BARF diet is one of the healthiest and most natural choices for dogs, but that doesn't mean it's always complete. When essential nutrients are lacking, the signs first appear in your dog's body: hair loss, itching, tiredness, bone problems, and even changes in behavior. It is not enough to offer raw meat. The secret of BARF is in combining bones, offal, meat, vegetables, and supplements in the right measure. Only then does your dog's body receive everything it needs to have vitality, immunity, and longevity. If you already follow the natural diet, but suspect that something is missing, this video will open your eyes to details that can transform your dog's health. Like this video, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss the next content. When an owner decides to offer the BARF diet to his dog, the first feeling is usually one of victory. The industrial feed is left behind. The animal's plate now has fresh meats, bones, offal, and colorful vegetables. The change brings excitement, but also a silent risk that few realize. The idea that because it seems natural and complete, BARF cannot fail in nutrients. The truth is exactly the opposite. BARF requires extra attention to nutritional balance, because if something is missing, the signs can be discreet at first, but devastating over time. The dog's body works like a machine that depends on invisible gears: proteins, fats, low glycemic carbohydrates, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Each element connects to the other. When a micronutrient is lacking, such as zinc, magnesium, vitamin D, or calcium, the gear begins to fail. And the tutor, without realizing it, interprets symptoms such as laziness, hair loss, allergies, or diarrhea as something temporary, when in fact, they are alarms of the body. One of the most common mistakes is to believe that offering only lean meat is enough. Meat by itself provides protein and fat, but does not guarantee calcium at adequate levels, nor fiber for proper intestinal function. Fleshy bones are essential because they balance the calcium-phosphorus ratio. And without this balance, the dog can develop severe bone growth problems, spontaneous fractures, and even seizures in extreme cases. Many owners only discover this too late, when the animal already has pain when standing up or difficulty running. Another critical point is the viscera. They are not an optional extra of the diet, but rather the richest source of vitamins A, D, B complex, and minerals. Liver, kidneys, heart, and spleen play a fundamental role in replenishing these nutrients. The systematic absence of these organs leads to deficiencies that are reflected in dry skin, decreased immunity, and even neurological problems. Still, there are tutors who offer offal only once a month or in minimal quantity, believing that meat solves everything. Vegetables also play an indispensable role. Rich in fiber, antioxidants, and phytonutrients, they help protect against silent inflammation and strengthen the gut microbiota. When ignored, the result is a more fragile digestive system, with recurrent diarrhea and difficulty absorbing the nutrients present in the meat and offal. BARF is not simply giving raw pieces of meat. It is a formula that must respect proportions. Most protocols suggest approximately 70% meat and bone, 10% offal, and 20% vegetables. Drastically changing these percentages compromises the balance. The most common deficiency in poorly planned BARF, however, is a lack of essential fatty acids. The dog needs omega-3 and omega-6 in adequate proportions to maintain healthy joints, hydrated skin, and a protected cardiovascular system. The tutor who forgets to include oily fish, such as sardines and salmon, or who does not add quality fish oil, condemns the animal to chronic inflammation and premature aging. Dull coat, persistent itching, and loss of energy are typical signs that fatty acids are missing. In addition, iron is a critical nutrient that needs to be monitored. Although present in meat, it reaches adequate levels only when viscera, such as liver and spleen, are regularly included. An iron-deficient dog may become lethargic, lose interest in play, and have paler mucous membranes. In advanced cases, it develops anemia that compromises tissue oxygenation. Another warning goes to iodine, a mineral essential for thyroid function. BARF without dehydrated seaweed or without controlled supplementation tends to fail at this point. The consequence is a slow metabolism, unexplained weight gain, hair loss, and a greater propensity to autoimmune diseases. Many tutors spend months without noticing this deficiency, confusing it with simple aging or laziness of the animal. Calcium and phosphorus, in turn, form one of the most sensitive pillars of the diet. Fleshy bones provide both, but they need to be offered in the correct proportion. Too much boneless meat results in excess phosphorus and calcium deficiency. Bones without meat, on the other hand, led to the opposite imbalance. This detail, ignored by many, is responsible for joint pain and irregular skeletal development. That's why, at BARF, it's not enough to just give bones. You need to calculate what types, in what quantity, and at what frequency. Behind all these details, there's a rule that separates the conscious tutor from the tutor who makes mistakes. Observe the signs of the animal's body. The dog speaks through its skin, the brightness of its eyes, its willingness to play, the consistency of its facies, the odor of its breath. When something is missing, these signals change first, but only an attentive tutor who understands the impact of each nutrient is able to interpret these signals as warnings. What the BARF diet is really missing is not just an isolated nutrient. What is lacking, most of the time, is the deep understanding that BARF cannot be improvised. It takes planning, balance, and adaptation to the individual needs of each dog. The absence of a single component can be compensated for a while. But as the months go by, the deficiency installs itself as an invisible crack, which opens until the animal's health collapses. This is the starting point. To recognize that the natural diet, no matter how healthy, requires constant vigilance. This is the only way to identify what is missing before it is too late. Identifying what is missing from the BARF diet is not just a matter of looking at the plate, but of understanding the signals that the dog's own body transmits. Each symptom, no matter how small it may seem, can be an indication that the nutritional machinery is not complete. The owner's attention should work as a magnifying glass that observes skin, fur, energy, digestion, and behavior. The skin is one of the first organs to react when there is a deficiency. A poorly formulated diet reflects in constant itching, recurrent dermatitis, wounds that take time to heal, and excessive hair loss. When zinc is lacking, the fur loses its luster, the skin becomes scaly, and scabs appear in sensitive areas, such as around the eyes, muzzle, and ears. The lack of essential fatty acids, on the other hand, results in endless itching and localized hair loss, often confused with flea allergy. The digestive system also denounces imbalances. Very dry stools indicate excess bones, while soft and strong-smelling stools suggest a lack of fiber or an imbalance in the proportion of viscera. Constant flatulence, intermittent diarrhea, or even occasional vomiting reveal failures in diet adaptation. A dog with balanced digestion and BARF should have smaller, firm, and less intense odorous stools than on a kibble diet. Any change outside this standard is a warning that something is missing or in excess. Behavior is also a thermometer. Deficiencies of B vitamins, for example, affect the nervous system, resulting in apathy, abnormal sleepiness, or irritability. A lack of iron can leave the animal uninterested in activities that it once loved, simply because there is not enough energy circulating in the body. The attentive tutor notices when the dog sleeps more than usual, refuses to play, or shows fatigue on short walks. Another powerful indicator is nails and teeth. Brittle nails, which peel off easily, can point to a lack of calcium or magnesium. Fragile teeth, with accelerated wear, reveal an imbalance in the calcium-phosphorus ratio or lack of vitamin D. Breath also changes. When there is a deficiency of zinc and antioxidants, the odor becomes more intense and unpleasant, even in young dogs. The dog's gaze brings equally revealing signs. Opaque eyes with constant secretions or recurrent conjunctivitis indicate a lack of vitamin A or adequate fatty acids. In the long term, taurine and antioxidant deficiency can lead to serious heart and eye problems. And the tutor who ignores these details often only notices it when there is already partial vision loss or irreversible cardiac changes. The physical examination is only the first layer. To confirm suspicions, veterinary follow-up with blood tests is indispensable. Blood counts reveal anemia due to lack of iron, changes in white blood cell count due to vitamin or mineral deficiency, and imbalances in liver enzymes when certain amino acids or antioxidants are absent. Biochemical analysis shows levels of calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and electrolytes, allowing adjustments before the deficiency progresses to clinical disease. Hormonal tests, especially thyroid function, also help identify dietary failures. The absence of iodine, for example, translates into changes in TSH and T4, reflecting in weight gain, slowness, and hair loss. Vitamin D and vitamin B12 tests, on the other hand, indicate whether the levels are adequate to maintain active immunity and balanced metabolism. The daily observation of the tutor remains irreplaceable. He is the one who notices when the dog begins to drink too much water, when he refuses to eat offal, when the feces change color, or when the energy disappears without explanation. The veterinarian, based on these reports, crosses the information with the laboratory results and is able to make a more accurate diagnosis. Together, tutor and professional transform vague symptoms into concrete clues of what is missing in the diet. An important detail: nutritional deficiencies do not appear overnight. They accumulate in silence. A dog can appear healthy for months until the body reaches a breaking point. When that moment comes, reversal becomes difficult. Therefore, identifying early is the key. The tutor needs to be prepared to see beyond the obvious, understanding that low energy, hair loss, strong odor, and digestive changes are early signs of a broken gear within the BARF diet. Detecting what is missing means listening to the dog's body as if reading a book written in signs. Each page brings a clue, each symptom is a sentence. When these signs are interpreted correctly, the owner has the chance to correct flaws before they turn into serious illnesses. And it is exactly this attentive listening that separates a healthy BARF from a BARF that only seems natural, but that carries hidden risks. Correcting the flaws of the BARF diet does not mean reinventing the entire menu, but rather understanding which pieces are missing and putting them back in the right place. The starting point is to respect the basic proportions: fleshy bones, muscle meats, viscera, and vegetables. Each group performs an essential function, and when one of them is ignored, the gear breaks. Reintroducing balance is the first step to restoring vitality and protection to the dog's body. Muscle protein is the basis of energy and tissue building. Lean meats like chicken, turkey, rabbit, beef, and lamb should make up the bulk of the dish, but offering only lean meat leads to shortcomings. The correction is to vary cuts and also include parts with healthy fat, such as breast with skin or lamb cuts, which provide energy and help in the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. The balance between lean and fat keeps the diet complete. The fleshy bones are the guardians of calcium. When forgotten, the signs appear in fragile teeth, brittle nails, and bone problems. The solution is not to exaggerate, but to introduce them in the right measure. Chicken necks, wings, and tender ribs offer calcium and phosphorus in the correct proportion. Ideally, they should represent about 10 to 15% of the total diet, avoiding both the deficiency and excess that causes constipation and whitish stools. The viscera work like a natural pharmacy. Liver, heart, kidneys, and spleen are deposits of vitamins A, B, iron, and antioxidants. When absent, immunity plummets. The fix is simple. Introduce them weekly in small portions, varying the types so as not to overload a single organ. The liver, for example, should be included, but not in excess, as it concentrates vitamin A at levels that can become toxic. The secret is to rotate viscera and respect the quantities. Vegetables complete the gear. They are the ones that provide fiber, antioxidants, and micronutrients that are not present in meat. To correct flaws in this field, it is worth including dark leaves, such as kale and spinach, rich in iron and vegetable calcium, and vegetables such as pumpkin, carrots, and zucchini, which improve digestion and bring essential carotenoids. The trick is in the way of offering it, lightly steamed or crushed, to break down the fibers and allow the dog to absorb the nutrients. The most overlooked point of the BARF diet is essential fatty acids. When absent, the skin suffers, the fur loses its shine, and silent inflammation sets in. The correction lies in the inclusion of fish rich in omega-3, such as sardines and salmon, or in supplementation with quality fish oil. A small amount, offered a few times a week, transforms the state of the skin, improves the joint, and protects the cardiovascular system. Another critical element is iodine. The traditional BARF diet rarely covers this need, as iodine is mostly present in seaweed. Without it, the thyroid suffers, leading to metabolic slowness and weight gain. The correction is the controlled introduction of small amounts of dehydrated algae in powder form, always measured accurately. Too much iodine also causes problems, so the dosage should be minimal and constant. Iron and zinc are minerals that complement each other. Iron comes primarily from the liver and spleen, while zinc is found in red meats and seeds like pumpkin. When deficiency is evident, including these foods on a rotating basis solves the problem. Zinc, in particular, is vital for skin regeneration and fertility, being one of the minerals that show results most quickly after adjustment. Vitamin D deserves special attention. Although dogs synthesize vitamin D when exposed to the sun, many are still deficient. Supplementation with fish oil helps, but in some cases, it is necessary to resort to specific products under veterinary guidance. Vitamin D deficiency is linked to muscle weakness and bone problems, which reinforces the importance of not ignoring its presence in the diet. Supplementing, however, does not mean overdoing it. The mistake of many tutors is to imagine that more will always be better. Giving excess calcium, for example, is as harmful as deficiency, resulting in joint problems and kidney overload. Balance should always be guided by clinical observation and, when possible, by tests that show the levels of minerals and vitamins in the animal's blood. The attentive tutor understands that supplementation does not replace a variety of ingredients, but only serves to fill gaps. A powerful tool for BARF correction is the use of rotating menus. Instead of always repeating the same foods, the tutor can create weekly combinations that guarantee variety. In a week, more fish. In the other, more lamb. Then, different viscera. This rotation prevents them from lacking specific nutrients and ensures that the dog does not get used to only a limited nutritional profile. In the end, adjusting the BARF diet is not difficult, but it does require discipline and awareness. Every correction done well translates into renewed vitality, shiny hair, constant disposition, balanced digestion, and strengthened immunity. The secret is to understand that nature is generous, but it needs to be organized. When the tutor learns to combine meat, bones, offal, vegetables, and supplements in an intelligent way, the diet is no longer just natural and becomes truly complete. Ensuring that the BARF diet is complete is not a goal that is achieved once and never revisited. It is a continuous process of monitoring, adapting, and learning. Each stage of a dog's life, puppy, adult, elderly, brings new demands, and each clinical condition that may arise modifies nutritional needs. The key to keeping BARF healthy is to follow the animal as if reading a diary written on its own body. The tutor needs to create the habit of observing signs daily. A healthy dog on a balanced diet has shiny coat, a constant willingness to play and walk, consistent and well-formed stools, and relatively neutral breath. When any of these elements change for more than a few days, it is necessary to investigate. Changes in appetite, frequent vomiting, unexplained weight gain or loss, apathy, or persistent itching should never be normalized. Regular veterinary follow-up is indispensable. Annual blood tests are able to detect silent deficiencies, such as anemia, calcium and phosphorus imbalances, or deficiencies of fat-soluble vitamins that do not manifest immediately. In puppies or elderly dogs, the frequency should be even higher, as the body is more sensitive to nutritional failures. BARF does not replace preventive medicine. It needs to go hand in hand with it. One of the most serious mistakes is to imagine that BARF is static. Just like humans, dogs benefit from variety. Different meats offer different amino acid profiles, varied viscera provide different micronutrients, and colorful vegetables expand the range of antioxidants. Repeating the same combination over and over leads to inevitable shortcomings. The correct strategy is to rotate ingredients, build rotating menus, and keep a simple record of what was offered each week. Responsible use of supplements is also part of monitoring. Omega-3 fatty acids, seaweed to provide iodine, quality oils, and in some cases, specific minerals, can be essential to fill in gaps that the diet doesn't naturally cover. But supplementing should not be done randomly. The guidance of a veterinary nutritionist ensures that each addition has a purpose and avoids excesses. More than including supplements, you need to know when to stop and adjust. The long term is the true test of the BARF diet. The absence of visible deficiencies in the short term does not guarantee that the diet is perfect. It is over the years that imbalances appear: bone wear, immune failures, premature aging. The tutor who wants to see his dog live longer and with quality needs to think of the diet as a daily construction, where each meal is a brick that supports the health of the future. BARF requires commitment, but rewards with vitality. The dog that receives a balanced diet demonstrates natural energy, maintains stronger joints, ages with less inflammation, and has a more stable behavior. Correct nutrition translates into longevity and quality of life. More than a diet choice, it's a careful decision. What's missing from your dog's BARF diet ultimately isn't just a specific ingredient or supplement. What is often missing is the vision that feeding naturally does not mean improvising, but rather understanding canine biology in depth. Every adjustment is a quiet investment in future health, and every detail you observe is a step toward preventing disease before it manifests. In the end, BARF is as powerful as the attention of the tutor who conducts it. An attentive tutor identifies flaws early, corrects them wisely, and builds a solid foundation of nutrition. Thus, the promise of the natural diet is fulfilled in its entirety, to transform each meal into an act of prevention, balance, and love throughout the dog's life. Like this video, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss the next content. Comment below. Have you ever noticed any signs that your dog's diet was incomplete? Your experience can help other owners avoid mistakes and keep their dogs healthy.